Hey folks, and welcome to week 4. So this week and next week, we're going to be working on Essay 3, okay? Now, Essay 3 is going to be different from Essay 1 and Essay 2 because it's sort of going to introduce the concept of research as we're going to envision it in this class. So Essay 1 is pretty typical of the sorts of essays you guys have written before in high school and whatnot, where you decide what you want to say, you go find a bunch of information to support that, you put it all on the paper, and you're done. Now, real research is really about trying to find an answer to a question that is not currently known, okay? So we say, hey, I wonder if blah, blah, blah is true, or I wonder whether this is the case or that's the case. And that's the idea behind Essay 3, and it'll also be the idea behind Essay 4, which is our long research essay, okay? So Essay 3 is sort of a shorter essay, 3 to 4 pages, sort of get your feet under yourself before we move on to the long research project of Essay 4. And that's what we're doing here, okay? So, number 1, watch the weekly video. Listen to the Science versus Organic Food podcast. We'll get there in just a second. Take part in a discussion about that podcast. Read 2 essays in the reading section. Write annotations of those. Read the Essay 3 assignment. Look at the proposal template and example. That's going to be pretty similar to the last time. Submit the Essay 3 proposal. That's all due by July 6th, okay? Also, by July 10th, that's Monday, you want to look at your feedback on the Essay 3 proposal. If you need to revise, do it. Otherwise, I want you to look at the materials and breaking down the big question into smaller ones. Break down your Essay 3 research questions into smaller questions. Put these smaller questions into the template. I will show you this template in a minute here. Do not attempt to answer those questions. That's next week's work. Submit your questions, saved in the template to the Dropbox, and then view the introduction to research question and start researching. Okay, so I'm going to dig in here and we can actually take a look. So, we've got the Science Versus podcast. So Science Versus is a radio show and podcast. This link will take you directly there. If you guys are iPhone users or Android users, you can use your favorite podcasting app to find Science Versus. Just make sure you find the organic food episode. Okay, that's the important thing there. You can listen to it on your phone while you're working out or taking a nap or whatever. All right, you can also just listen to it sitting at your computer. This is a direct link to it. Okay. You can go to their website here for more information. Then there's a research discussion. There's more information in that discussion, so click the link and you can go there. Okay, I said 2 articles. Both of these are articles about a news story. They're both news stories, I suppose, from 2 different sources. There are some MLA citations for those in case you need them for the annotations, and then where you turn your annotations in. Okay, and those are going to relate to Essay 3 because Essay 3 is really about fact-checking a story from a somewhat questionable news source. I might say that the Washington Post here is a pretty reputable news source. It is generally regarded by people as a reputable news source. Christian Today very clearly might have a bent, however, a bias. And so that's what we see here. And so if I were to do this essay on, to write Essay 3, I'd be looking at the Borkett-Jones piece here. Okay? The Essay 3 assignment I'll pop into very quickly. Sorry, had to move the screen just a little bit here so you guys could see it all. This is the same thing that you've got, okay? So ultimately we get a lot of news from the internet, and the question here is the news that we get legitimate? So I want you to think about a news site that is not going to be obviously correct, okay? The New York Times, the Washington Post, even Fox News, which some people think is inaccurate, are largely very, very accurate. But there are certainly politically news sites further out on the fringes. I'll give you some examples down here that you can look at. But then there are also all sorts of other things that you might see in your Facebook feed or anything of that sort, okay? Even something like, hey, one weird trick to reduce I don't know, inflammation or something. That is your aunt shared on Facebook. And you saw it and you're like, oh great, there's Aunt so-and-so and her crazy health schemes again. Let's take an opportunity to dig in and look at whether or not that's accurate, okay? So you can look at a news story that's shared on Facebook, you can look at a news story from a news website, or something that would sort of purport to be news, but might be questionable. Okay, finding the article flat out be the most difficult thing here. And our goal in the essay is to figure out whether the story is accurate or not. If they left something out, in what way is it inaccurate? Okay. So that is essay 3. You can put a proposal together for that. Make sure you include a link or some way for me to figure out what news source you're looking at. Okay? And then by Monday, as soon as I can get these in on the 6th, I'm going to do my best to turn around as fast as possible and get them back to you so you can look at feedback. If you need to change something, need to pick a new article, whatever, that gives you a little bit of time to do that. And then we're going to look at breaking down questions. So, one of the things about research is that everyone sort of presumes that, like, you're going to say, like, oh, hey, is this random juice drink really and truly... Whoa. Sorry about that, guys. Does this random juice drink really and truly help me to lose weight or whatever? And you're just going to punch that into some sort of research database and someone's going to give you the answer. That might happen, but that also means someone's already done this research project. You don't need to do it. You go, you look, you determine it's a credible source, you've got your answer, we're out the door, you know that you should or should not drink that, okay? Most of the research questions you're going to come into are actually going to require that you break it down into smaller chunks. For example, if you're trying to figure out whether a mechanical pencil is really better for the environment than a wooden pencil, you could break that down into some chunks, like what's the pencil made out of, and once you know some of those things, you can ask more questions, okay? How much energy goes into making this kind of plastic versus, the wood that goes into a pencil or something of that sort. Okay? And you might find answers to some of those smaller questions, which you can then put together into the larger questions. And that's what we're going to work on with the research question template here. And so here's an example. All I want you to do, the red questions and the green questions, the blue and the orange, the answers do not worry about. We will work on those next week. I do not want you to complete those right now, okay? So you'll submit this. I'll get you feedback as soon as possible, but you guys can start working on filling in those templates by looking at the basic search video and moving from there, okay? As always, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I will be glad to help.